Hey guys, so let's start with today's session. Okay, so as you all know about today's webinar, it's on Android application development using the Lollipop SDK. So you might be aware. So presently, the Lollipop SDK is the latest version which is available for the Android. So in this year's Google I/O, Google announced the next version of Android, that is Android M, but it is still in alpha stage, and it would take almost 6 to 7 months to just roll it off on all the user devices. So what we are concentrating on the Lollipop version. Okay, so before starting with the webinar, I would just like to show you what are the things that we would be doing. So this webinar is just an introduction to what are the things that you will be learning in the Android course. If you take up the Android course with the Edureka, what kind of applications you would be developing throughout the course. Okay, so this is just one of the sample application that we would be developing throughout the Edureka Android development course. So you can see, so this application has been developed with the latest version of Android SDK, that is the Lollipop SDK, and we are just making sure in our course that we are using and we are teaching all the latest available APIs which are present on the Android. So one of the beauty of Android Lollipop SDK is the material design. So as you can see, this application has been developed fully in the material design. So what does this application does? So this application shows you all the latest movie. So if you are the movie freak like me, so what I usually like is so normally on the weekends I usually go and watch movies. So I was fed up with the IMDb application. So IMDb application is quite heavy. So I just thought of creating a new application myself and came up with this particular idea. So what this application does, so this is a very simple application. In this application, what I usually do is, so if I'm planning to watch any movie on the weekend, I just open this application and it shows me all the latest movies which are released in India. So like Jurassic World, Big Hero 6, Frozen. These are some of the trending movies which we have. So I'm still in process of developing this application. You can also see all the latest movies also. And if you click on any particular movie, so what it does, it also shows you the detail about that particular movie. So what is the description about the movie? If I click on read more, it shows me the runtime of the movie, what are the ratings, certification, and in fact, it also shows you the comments, because comments are a very important section. By looking at the comment, you can just identify the quality of the movie. So this is like so the reason I wanted to showcase this app to you, there were two reasons. First is you will get the better idea, so what kind of applications you can develop. And second one is to just give you the look and feel of Android Lollipop APIs which you can use in the application. One of the questions that I have got from Sushil, is this application backward compatible? So yes, Sushil, I have just made sure that this application will run on all the devices using Android 4.0 and above. So I'm not supporting any devices which are below 4.0, but all the 4.0 and above devices. Okay, so basically this application, so as you can see, this is a single application, but it contains plenty of widgets. Like you have got the parallax widget. So something like if you scroll, you can see there is a parallax effect. So the screen and the image scrolling rate is different. Then you can see there is a button which is disappearing when you're scrolling. There is also animation. So if I just click on comment, so you can see the list comes with the different animation. So these are all the components which are the part of Android, and as an Android developer, you should be aware about all those components to create the beautiful application. So one of the new component that has come up is the sliding drawer, in which you can just make the selection about what option you want. In fact, I can click on search, and inside the search, I can search for the movie, something like, let's say, Fury. So hopefully it will work. So you can see, so it is also showing you the movie by the name Fury. I can just click on it and I can just read more about that movie. So I hope you must have liked this application, and even you can develop same kind of application, similar looking application after taking the Android development course with the Edureka. Okay, so today what I would like to do in this particular webinar, I would just like to give you some brief introduction about the Lollipop SDK. So we might go in some technical details about the Lollipop, but I would try to be as as simple as possible. So I would not make it complicated. Okay, so let me open the PPTs for today's webinar. And guys, so if you have any question during the webinar, please feel free to ask me the question, because this is not the Android development session, this is the webinar. And the reason we usually conduct this kind of webinar is to give you the introduction about, so what I was saying is we usually conduct this kind of webinars to give you the introduction about what are the contents that you will be learning in Android development course. Because before joining the course, we always have some queries like what are the things I will be doing during the course? What are the things that would be a part of the syllabus? At the end of the syllabus, what kind of applications I would be developing? So I hope this webinar will answer all of your questions. Okay, so I would just like to talk about what's new in Android Lollipop. I would just like to talk about some of the UI components that you would be using in the Android Lollipop SDK. Then we would be talking about the RecyclerView and Palette API. So this is somewhat technical. So RecyclerView means, so what I will try to do is I will try to show it all these things visually. So as you can see over here, so what I'm getting the list of movies. Okay, so as you can see over here, so what you are getting the list of movies over here. So this is something called as the RecyclerView. So RecyclerView is very similar to the list view. So that was the major upgradation in the Lollipop SDK. So before Lollipop SDK, we used to have the list view. So it was pretty simple list view. Adding the multiple effects, animation effects, the major challenge in earlier versions of Android. So in Lollipop, they made it very much simpler. So you can create the animated list view, you can scroll through the list view, and you can do multiple actions over there. Okay. So this is about the list view. Then we would be, I would be talking about the palette library. So what is the palette library is? So these are the components we were talking about, like the RecyclerView as well as the palette library. Then we are also going to talk about the compatibility and support libraries. So one of the questions that I got during the class is, whatever application that I'm demonstrating, is it backward compatible? Something like, can you run this application on the earlier versions of Android also? So yes. So how does it happen is using the compatibility and the support library. So you can use the support libraries or the backward compatibility libraries, so that you can just make sure that all the applications that you are developing with the latest version of Lollipop SDK, they would also run on the earlier versions. Okay, so this is about the short history about the 5.0. So it was released in Google I/O 2014. So those of you who don't know Google I/O, so basically Google I/O is the event which occurs every year in San Francisco, where they announce a lot of new technologies that they are coming up with. And the major attraction of this particular event is the Android. So last year they announced the Android L version, that is the Android Lollipop. And they also made available the preview images so that developer can start developing the applications. And in November 2014, so final API was released, that is 21. Okay, so I got a question from Tejaswal. What about the next version of Android? Will apps work on that too? So yes, Tejaswal. So your app will run on that version too. Just we have to make sure that we are compiling our app with the next version of Android. So if you just want to run this application on the next version of Android, you would have to compile that with that particular SDK, which is available free of cost. So when I talk about the material design, so material design is something new that Google has come up with. So earlier, since I'm working on the Android since 2010, so it's been almost 5 years. So what I have experienced is before 2 years, Google was not keen on the designing. It was keen on providing a lot of features to the user. But now Google is also concentrating on the design, as like Apple. So if you have used iPhone, so you must have seen. So they put plenty of attention on the user interface. So same way, last year Google also did that, and they came up with the new design principle that is called as material design. So whatever application that you are seeing now, so it is entirely made in the material design. And as you can see, because it is made in material design, it looks very much attractive. Because you have got plenty of animations, you have got plenty of scrolling effect, fading effect, and so it adds the value to your application. So in case if you are interested in knowing more about the material design, you can always visit this particular website where they have given more details on that. So they concentrated on the lot of colors, 3D images, a lot of lights and shadow. So these are all the stuff which is related to the UI on which they work. Then they also made sure that all the widgets which you are using in the material design, they are flat. So that is called as the flat UI. So if you see over here, so you can see, so now comment is not a button, it is just a flat button or flat label. So you can click on it and you can see the comments. So in earlier versions of Android, you used to have a button on which you used to click. But now you will not have a button, you will have a label on which you can give a nice ripple effect or the highlighting effect, and when you click on that, you can see the detail screen basically. They added a lot of animations, they added a lot of fonts like Roboto and different font styles. And they also made sure that you know about the margins as well as spacings and paddings that you have to implement in your application. Because if you have a constant margin and spacing, your app looks more beautiful and neat. They introduced a new theme. So a lot of new themes came like theme.material, light, dark action bar. So material.light means your application will have a white background. When you say theme.material light.dark action bar, it means your application will have a white background and it will have a dark action bar, kind of that. So these things they came up with. So basically these are some of the technical details on how you can implement the material design inside your application. So basically once you take the Android course with the Edureka, so we are going to cover all these things like how you can implement different styles, how you can create different animations, as well as how you can create the multiple screen application and provide the interaction between different screens. So these are, so as you can see, so if you want to learn the Android application development, so there are two things you need to know. One is the basic amount of XML and one is Java programming. So Android works on the MVC pattern. So what is meant by MVC? That is model view controller. So you will be having a view where you can design the elements. So normally view you create in XML format. So if you want to define buttons, labels, video buttons, checkbox, so all those things you will be doing inside the XML file. And if you want to write the application logic, something like when user clicks on the button, I want to get all the latest movies from the internet. So that all the logic you will be writing in the Java program. So you would not be writing that logic in XML, rather you would be writing that logic in the Java program. So these are the two programming languages that we would be learning while developing the applications for the Android. So toolbar is something like a header. So if you want to, so let me show it to you what is mean by toolbar. So as you can see over here, so when I scroll in this particular application, I am seeing the toolbar with a title as Mad Max Fury Road 2015. So this is like a header of your application on which you can see the text, basically. So this is called as the toolbar in Android terminology. So you can also add a lot of menu items on your toolbar, and you can give the events to those menu items. Like if I click on that particular menu item, what should happen and what not. They added the RecyclerView. So as I already talked with you, so what is meant by RecyclerView? So RecyclerView is something like where you can create this scrollable list. So here I am implementing the RecyclerView, which is showing all the latest movies which are released. And when you click on any particular list item, it also shows you the detail about that particular movie. Okay, so I have a question from the Ramesh. Can you send PPT to our email ID? So yes, definitely, Ramesh. So this PPT would be mailed to all of you. So Edureka support would be mailing these PPTs to all of you. So be assured about that. So these are some of the technical details about the RecyclerView. So how you can put the data inside the RecyclerView. So we have something called as get item count. So inside the get item count, you can define how many movies you want to show inside the list view. Then you have something like on bind view holder. So in the get item count, I can define something like in the list view, I want to show the list of 10 movies. So next thing Android will ask you, okay, so now you want to show the 10 movies inside the list view. Now give me the detail about each and every movie. So that thing you will be doing inside the on bind view holder. So this is about some of the methods which are available inside the list view. So whenever you click on any particular movie, or whenever you think that this movie should be bookmarked or something like that, so there are a lot of methods that Android RecyclerView provides you. So you can use those methods and create the effects inside the application. It also gives you the callback, like when you're scrolling. So something like, so you can see, so when I'm scrolling, my toolbar disappears, right? So Android also gives you the event when you are scrolling from the movies and all those kind of stuff over there. You can provide a lot of animations to your RecyclerView. So while scrolling, if you want to provide some kind of animation, you can always do that. So these are some of the widgets that Android Lollipop has came up with, and one of the important features that they have came up with in Android Lollipop is the ART. So ART, so I would not go into much technical details, but in short, what is ART? So it is the Android runtime. So in case if you have worked with Java, you must be aware about JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine. So in the same way, we also have the Android ART. So it contains all the what do you say? So ART basically is the collection framework which makes sure that whenever you are compiling the application, it will optimize the application size, and also it will make sure that your application runs more smoothly in the Android device. So it is responsible for all those stuff. So if you have the device with the Android version Lollipop and above, so by default you are using the ART runtime inside your mobile. So these are some of the benchmark between Android 4.0 and 5.0. So what are the advantage and what are the disadvantage in the new ART over there. Then they came up with the new widget in the Android Lollipop that is called as the WebView. So basically WebView is the widget where you can load the web pages. So WebView is a very famous widget which you must have seen in a lot of applications. So whenever inside your application you see the HTML information or the HTML help, so that is all done inside the WebView. And many of the new APIs, something like Camera 2 API, in which you can have fine control over your camera and you get a lot of new settings. You get privacy settings for your lock screen, so you can design your own lock screen over there. You can create a lot of notifications. Then there is something like job scheduling. So if you are performing any network operation inside your application, you can schedule that network operation in such a way that it would not consume a lot of device battery. And the compatibility library. So compatibility library is like a very important feature that every developer needs, because whenever they are developing the application, they just want to make sure that this application will run on all versions of Android. Because if I make any application and if it is running only on the Lollipop version, it doesn't make any sense, because I would say there are only 10 to 20% of the people in the world who are running Lollipop. 80% of them are running like 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, something like that. So if you want to make profit, you should make sure that your application is compatible on most of the devices. So that you can do using the support library. So in the support library, what are the features you get? So you can use all the latest API in the earlier versions of Android. You also get the support for the material theme, where you can give the customized colors. You get the option for Tintin and all. Then you get the search view widget, where you can search a lot of things, and a lot of other things like action bar and all. So basically, when you are using the compatibility library, it is going to be run on Android 2.1 and above. So you can see how beautiful it is. So Android 2.1 is something like now deprecated, but still Google has made sure that whenever you are using the support library, it is going to run on 2.1 and above versions. Then these are some of the new widgets that they have created, something like card views. So if you see over here, so when I'm clicking on a particular movie, and if I click on read view, so you can see I'm getting the information about the movie details, runtime, and comment. And if I click on comment, I'm getting the information in the recycler view, but that is also called as the card view. So you can see, so we have got the separator, and each information looks like a card. So this is also one of the new widgets that they came up with. And in each card, I'm also showing the image of the person who has posted this particular comment for all of you. So basically, after learning all this, so obviously we get one question into our mind. So let's say if we are the student, or if we are already a software developers who are looking to make out a career in Android, so we usually think, what is the job trend in the Android? So if I learn Android, what are the chances that I would be getting a good job? So you can see, so since January 2006 to January 2015, so you can see, so number of jobs in Android, they are like rising. Because one of the reasons I would like to give you, when I started with Android back in 2010, there was only one option to create the applications for the mobile. But now you can see Android has not been limited to mobile. It has been ported to your smartwatch, Android TV, Android Auto, Google Glass, and whatnot. So in fact, Arduino, Raspberry Pi, you can port the Android on those hardwares too. So you can see, so if we learn Android and if we start doing Android application development, so we have got a bright future, because we can fit in any category. So in case if you are interested in making apps for the Google Glass, you can just apply for that particular job and something like that. But behind the scene, you would be using the same coding, you would be using the same layout. The only minor things will change. So before starting with the question answer session, I would just like to give you the brief about what are the things that you would be learning if you take up Android course with the Edureka. So basically, our Android course has been divided into 10 modules. So first module is the introduction to Android development. So in the first class, we would be learning the introduction to Android development. So I would make sure that I give you all the information about how you can install the Android tools on your computer, how you can install the Android SDK, and how you can create many types of projects. Like you can create a login kind of project, you can create the list view kind of project and all. So basically it will be an introduction session where we would set up the development environment. In module 2, we would be learning about layouts and widgets. So whatever new widgets that are present in the Android, we would be learning about those widgets as well as the layouts. In module 3, we would be learning about the activity, notifications, and media. So activity is nothing but a screen. So we would be seeing how you can create different types of screen, how you can show the notifications to the user, and how you can play the audio as well as the video into your applications. In module 4, we will see how you can customize the widgets. So something like, if Android is giving you the button and you want to change the appearance of that button, you want to give some background, you want to make the button as a rounded corner, and you want to give custom font on the button. So all those things comes under the customizing the widgets. So we would be seeing all those things. And we would also see how you can implement the event receivers. So something like, so if I'm giving a button to the user, so he's going to click on it. So how would you get notified if user clicks on the button? So those are all the things you will be learning inside it. Then, so one of my favorite topic, it's storage and animation. So here we would see how you can use the file system in Android, how you can save the data on the device, and how you can play with the different kinds of animation. So Android provides more than 10 kinds of animation. So I would be teaching you about all the animations which are available in Android, basically. Then one of my favorite topic is web services. So as you can see in this particular example, we are using the web services a lot, because all this information is coming from the cloud. So this information is not saved on my mobile, because you cannot show the static data to the user, right? Because user is always expecting to see your latest movies. So you would always have to get those movies from the internet. something like that. So we will see how you can do that, how you can use the web services, and how you can fetch the data from the network. Then we would be learning a very demanding feature in the Android, that is the location and Google Map. So we would be creating the application which will show you your current location. You would learn how to create the Google Maps inside the Android and how you can show your current location on the Google Map. So basically all those kind of stuff you would be learning inside this module. In module 8, you would be learning about the database concept, because database is the essential part of any programming language, whether it's the Java, .NET, Android, iOS. So database is present everywhere, and that's the reason we are also including the database framework, where we would teach you how you can create the database-centric apps. So how you can save data, retrieve data, update data, and delete data. So those are all the things we would be learning. Then we would be learning about social media integration and sensors. I would show you how you can use the accelerometer, compass, gyroscope to create the beautiful applications, as well as we would see how you can make sure that your application interacts with the social media, something like login with Facebook, share data on the Google Drive. So all those kind of applications we would be learning. And in the module 10, so this is one of the most important module. So where we would be just gathering all the knowledge that we have taken in all those module 9, and we would be creating one end-to-end application, like the movie application which I just shown you. And finally, I would show you how you can publish that application in the Google Play Store. So these are all the things that you will be learning in those 10 modules. Okay. So yeah, so that was about the introduction to Android. What are the things that you are going to learn? So what I would like to do is, for next 15 minutes, I would like to take up the questions from you. So if you have any questions regarding the course, so apart from course fees and something like when the course will start, so you can always put a mail to Edureka so that they can get back to you and they can give you more information. But if you have any questions, technical questions about the course, please feel free to ask me now. Okay, so guys, so if you have questions, please ask me. Just ping me on the chat window. I will unmute you so you can ask me a question.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for the session. And I have a question. You were mentioning that this is of the MVC model. So I was not clear, like, what exactly is the model here? And I was sure of view and controller, but the model. Can you just be more elaborative regarding that?
So yeah, so that's a really good question. So basically, when I talk about the MVC, so you would be having a view, you would be having a controller, and you would be having the model. So let's say if you are fetching some data from the network and you want to show that particular data inside the recycler view, like the movie information. So here, model is a class which holds all the information about that movie, like what is the movie name, what is the movie release date, how many characters are there in the movie, what is the ratings about that movie. So all that information is presented inside the model. So what controller does is, controller knows where the UI is, and controller also knows what model contains. So what is the task of the controller? To put all that particular data from the model inside the UI, because your UI is empty before fetching the data from the model. So who joins that with the model is the controller. So controller will take the movie name from the model class and it will show it on the UI. It will take the movie image from the model class and it will show inside the UI. So the hierarchy will be something like that. I got a question from Anubhav. I'm interested on internet database applications. For this, what are the things required? So basically, you would require to have the knowledge in the async tasks as well as the JSON, retrofit, OK HTTP. So these are some of the internal components of the Android which makes application communicate with the internet. So you have to be very flexible with those techniques if you want to create the efficient network-based applications. Anubhav. Okay, I got a question from Anubhav. In previous course, material design was not covered. Is any separate class for this? So Anubhav, yes. So basically, what we have done is we have revamped our entire Android development course and made it 10 models. So we have just make sure that we are including all the APIs from the Lollipop. So this particular course contains all the bits about the Lollipop SDK, and you will be learning every API which is present in the Lollipop version. Okay, I got a question from Tejaswar. Is Android Studio the only platform for developing apps? So Tejas, you can use the Eclipse, but now the Android Studio is the official IDE, which is used by the Google for creating the Android applications. And now they are removing the support. So I don't remember, but a couple of days back, I was reading the article somewhere. Within next 2 months, Google will be stopping the support for the Eclipse. So now onwards, you would have to use the Android Studio for creating the Android applications. Anubhav wants to know about the advanced Android security. So Anubhav, unfortunately, I never worked on the security part of the Android, but I think if you go from the Android developer website, then you might found some information about the Android security. So there are a lot of techniques which are available in Android security, something like obfuscation of the application, encryption of the application, so that hackers cannot steal your source code. Android developer website contains some information about that. Okay, so I hope so. Those of you had the questions, so I just answered all of them. Okay, so guys, so with that, I would like to end this particular webinar. So I hope you got some background about the topics that you would be learning as a part of Android course, and also through the application, you might have got the idea about what kind of applications that you can do after completion of the course, and what are the capabilities which are available in the Android Lollipop version. So thank you very much for your time, guys, and I hope to see most of you in the next Android batch. So I would be taking the next Android batch, which is starting at this particular month end. So I'm just expecting to see most of you in this particular batch. So before ending the webinar, I would like to take one last question from Gokula. What are the basic rules to give the package name? So Gokula, again, to give the package name, so it is like a reverse domain name. So if you are working with the google.com, so normally the application package name we give is the com.google. So it's a reverse domain name that you give. So code snippet for the movie app which you shown. So Anubhav, so this application is still in development. So what I would be doing is, as soon as this application is complete, I would be open sourcing this particular application, so you can get the source code at that time. But right now it is still in beta phase, so I don't have any plans to open source the source code. But as soon as I will complete this application, I would be open sourcing it. Okay. So with that, it's a bit end of the webinar, and thank you for being a part of this particular webinar.